Hello folks, this is Zorgo, and today I'm going to be introducing you to an old MMO called City of Heroes. Now, I'm assuming that if you played City of Heroes back when it was live, the news that the emulation servers are back online is probably no news to you. So I'm going to try to gear this towards people who are looking for an old school MMO, who are looking for something different than fantasy or space, and introduce you to, in my opinion, what the greatest superhero MMO of all time was, City of Heroes. So the first question that you'd probably be wondering is, how do you get City of Heroes if it's no longer live and only on emulation servers? Well, for that I'm going to post a couple of links in the description that will send you to a few of the servers that you can download and try the game out on. For the purposes of this video, I am playing on the Rebirth Server, the City of Heroes Rebirth Server. If I understand correctly, this server was born out of the Discord channel that was created after City of Heroes was no longer live, and this server aims to be the truest representation of City of Heroes the day that it went off the internet. So this is supposedly the truest experience that you can have in reliving what the game was like when it was live. It's a small server, but stable. It has a loyal and dedicated following. They have a Discord channel, and you get an automatic invite. If you follow the links, you'll find out how to get to the server that I'm playing on right now. Now keep in mind there are a lot of other emulation servers out there. For example, Thunder Spy is a server that has a very different philosophy than Rebirth. They've decided to go in and create new costume pieces, monkey around with different power sets. They have fleshed out some new archetypes and classes for the game. They are intent on doing new content and new ways of playing the game, new modes of playing the game. So you've got a wide range between Rebirth that is pure and Thunder Spy that is kind of a Wild West version. Though Thunder Spy still keeps their love of the game evident, it still plays like City of Heroes. It plays like City of Heroes with expansions and additions that true lovers of the game would put in there. Now they all have very good communities, very communicative. They communicate with their players. They mostly have Discord channels which you can go in and join. And so you should check them out. Now there is the most popular of all these servers is called Homecoming, and I'm not going to spend too much time talking about them. The Homecoming population is the largest. You can find them if you do a search, but I know that they are actively trying to become a quote-unquote legitimate operation, so they're actively seeking a legal premise to be able to operate the game, and so I want to respect their right to their privacy, as it were. I know that they don't like streaming, so I think mentioning them is about all I want to do. So if you follow those links, the operation of downloading the game is pretty self-explanatory. Just follow the instructions that they have. You obviously will have to create accounts, and you'll have to download a proxy launcher in order to put a manifest for the game in order to play it. But takes almost no time at all if you've got anything close to modern equipment. The specs of the game aren't great when compared to what modern specs are, so almost anybody can run it. It's completely free, with the asterisk that it was never licensed to be run again, but the code is out there on the web, and it's almost impossible to put a stop to it at this point right now. So there is I mean, I don't see how it would happen, but theoretically it could be taken down because it's not technically allowed to operate. So here we are at the character creation and selection screen. You can see that I've already created a good smattering of heroes here to kind of show you as an example of what the game characters and classes can do, what they're all about, and what the character creation is. And then we'll pop into the game and I'll show you a couple of basics of gameplay and getting started. So here we have my character Zorgo Nox. And just to I'll start by kind of showing you one of the things City of Heroes is famous for is its costume creator. So as you can see, I created this from scratch from their costume creator. I like it. It's got my namesake. But it's got a huge variety. You've also got, here's Galactic Defender that I created, or I could go Willpower right here, Superpower, and he looks an awful lot like Zorgo. That's okay, he's got a different power set completely. Then we've got Wonderstorm, Undefeated, kind of a post-apocalyptic look. And so you can see there is an enormous variety of things that you can do to create the character that you want, to recreate any character you want. So let's go in. So you create a character. First thing you're going to do is you pick your origin. You pick, like, you know, are you a hero with a science background, like, you know, let's say the Hulk, who went through some sort of high scientific mishap. Mutation, kind of X-Men. So that's, you derive your powers from that. Magic, self-explanatory. You are magic, or you've got some magical piece of armor or something like that that gives you your powers. Technology, you know, it's the Iron Man. It's the suit that you wear that makes you super. Or natural, meaning that you just have natural talents. Do these matter? Not a whole lot. What they do technically in game is they give you a different set of quest lines that you can follow that kind of tie in with your origin. And but the thing is those quest lines are open to anybody, so it's just you know, your flavor trying to create the character with the background you want. Your playstyle. A lot of these are pretty self-explanatory, but I'll go through some of it. You know, tank, those are obviously going to be, just like almost any MMO, the damage takers. Melee damage, self-explanatory, close in, fast DPS. Range damage, self-explanatory. You're going to be far back and you're going to be shooting at things. Crowd control. This is one of the things that I think sets City of Heroes apart. Crowd control is its own separate class, and so being able to handle dozens and dozens of mobs and put them to sleep, or make them slip and fall, or levitate them into the air, it's a necessary role in this game. Support. That's your healers and your buffers and your debuffers. And then you have a set of pet classes. Now, one of the things as I go into each of these options that you'll see is that a lot of them are crossover. You know, there are range damage that are also support classes. There are crowd control that have pets. There's crowd control that's also support. So you'll see kind of how some of that crossover goes. So let's go in and let's see. I think I'm going to make a character that I've made before just so that it's easy. You can get lost in here. There's basically two games. You can play City of Heroes or you can play the City of Heroes costume creator. It's that in depth. So, the character that I'm going to create today is going to be a brute. Now, when you look at this list of tankers, a tanker is as it seems. It has a nice little stat chart to show you that like their survivability is off the charts, their melee damage is pretty good, nothing in the way of ranged or a little bit in crowd control, not much in support, not much in pets. And so you can see where their survivability, their ability to take damage is paramount. Brute is the counterpart to that. Little bit less survivability, but still very high. But look, now the melee has gone up. And so it's kind of a rebalanced tank. This one can't stand as much damage, but does more damage. This is your ultimate damage taker right here. My understanding is that pretty much Brute took over Tanker because they do so close to the same thing, and the benefit of that extra damage is that much. But I'm sure that people could correct me if I'm not right about that. So what's Peacebringer and Warshade? I'm going to suggest for the brand new player to the game, you avoid these. They're advanced classes that came in later expansions. I would stick with Tanker or Brute. If you want to try these, try them out, but, you know, hard to master, hard to pick up in my opinion. So I'm going to pick a Brute for today. So, well, oh, wait a minute. Before I go on to that, I should probably go back to the other archetypes and talk about their differences. So, that was the tank classes. When we go to melee damage, here you see that they've got Brute in here again, and that's because their melee damage is so high. But look at this. Scrapper. Now the melee damage is off the charts and even less survivability than the Brute. So this is your up close and personal damage dealers in this game. Their survivability also allows them to escape hairy situations, but they can't really stay in the fray too long if they don't have some control on their side. But they've got Brute in here again, which we've already discussed. And then the other one they have is Stalker. And the Stalker is kind of like your rogue class. Their survivability and melee damage mirrors that of the Scrapper. However, in the Stalker, what happens is you have burst damage as opposed to a Scrapper, which is sustained damage. The Stalker's power comes in the fact that they get basically a sneak or a hide from the very beginning of the game, and they can critical damage when they come out of that. And building your power set the right way, they can be very deadly in short bursts. But if you're looking for sustained damage, the Scrapper. Most people will tell you that Stalkers are primarily used for PvP purposes, and you will see many more Scrappers than you will Stalkers. However, of course, for the beginning player, play what you want to play. You see here we've got two extra characters again, the Arachnos Widow and Arachnos Soldier. Again, these are classes or archetypes that came in later expansions, and I would recommend them for advanced players of the game. Stick with these other ones before you delve into that. That would be my advice. So going back to the archetypes, range damage. Come into range damage, you have Blaster. Blaster is your glass cannons, high range damage. Look, they've also got relatively high melee damage, but very low survivability. So, this is a tricky class to solo, but it is a really fun class to play. But you gotta be careful. Where you stand, your distance, how you target mobs, how you use your powers effectively to keep yourself out of melee distance, or to incapacitate them so that you can come in and do melee damage. That's the big key with the Blaster. Blasters are popular, and blasters are necessary, and they're a whole lot of fun. Defenders, also necessary. Survivability you see is 4. Melee damage is very low. Range damage is median. Crowd control, so-so. But this is where they shine, is in support. They're buffers and they're healers. And they're the strongest in the game. So the defenders are a necessary part of winning. I also have a couple of pets here. I wonder what that's referring to. Oh well. You see the Peacebringers and the Warshades come up again, as they are a cross-class, or a cross-archetype. I would recommend staying away from them until you become more familiar with the game. Corruptor. Corruptor is kind of like a defender, but does more damage. Their support is a little bit lower. Their range damage is a little bit higher. Their survivability is a little bit higher. So, is that true? No, their survivability is about the same. So think of this as like the Corruptor is to the defender what the Brute is to the tank. So Corruptors are also a lot of fun, but because they don't do quite the support as defenders, they're not quite as sought after. They're perfectly capable of keeping a group alive. Again, Arachnus Widow and Soldier, advanced archetypes, I would steer clear of them. Crowd control. This is what I said set the game apart from some of the others. Controller. Controller has the highest crowd control in the game. They're pretty darn good on support. And they've also got some pets involved with what they do. Not very survivable though. No melee damage to speak of. No real range damage to speak of. Controllers are very, very powerful in a group. That's the way I would say that. They're very powerful in a group. Hard to solo. Good controllers will tell you that they are perfectly capable of soloing anything that anybody else is. And if you're skilled, I believe that's probably true. Dominators are the glass cannons of ranged classes. Of crowd control classes. They've got much higher DPS, or melee damage. They have much higher range damage. They have just as high a control as controllers, but they have low survivability. So, you have to be skilled to solo with the Dominator. You have to go in, crowd control them, go in and use your ranged and melee just so, and be back out to crowd control them again. Because if you get hit, you're not going to make it. Very good for groups. Very fun to solo, but very difficult to solo. Support. We've got our controller again. Now we're seeing that we've got these cross archetypes. Defender again. Corruptor again. The new one on the support role here is the Mastermind, but I'm going to talk about him in one of the other play styles. Pets. In the pet category, Mastermind is really the only pet. Controllers have pets to a limited degree, Dominators have pets to a limited degree, but for Masterminds, pets is what they do. And so just like it sounds, what you do is you control an army of pets. You start off with one. As you gain power, you get more and more and more. Eventually you have a whole army of pets to use at your disposal. You control them. You've got pretty good survivability because you basically use your pets. Low melee, decent damage, some crowd control. Your support is decent. It's medium. But it's your pets that rule the day here. Very fun class to play. Now that when you go back through this, I'll show you real quick that like you have so many options within all of these. So let's say that I wanted to be a tank. Let's say that we're going in here and I'm going to be a tanker, and I look at this, and the first thing you're going to be doing is you're going to be choosing your power set. So tankers have a bio armor power set, a dark armor power set, electric armor, fiery aura, and you don't have to go in blind with any of this, because what you can do is continue through the character selection screen, and you'll be able to see the visual example of what each of these power sets do and what they look like. You can read the descriptions over here on the right, and as you can see, in the tank class, their primary power set are their defensive abilities like ice armor or fire armor or electric armor. And then you would have to select their secondary powers. These are going to be their melee things. But because it's secondary, that's why they don't have as high a damage as a brute, for example. Brute, you go and you look. Now their primary power are their melee abilities. Higher damage. Their secondary powers are those same power sets that you saw before. It's just that the math is done just slightly differently on these than it is on the tanks. In the melee damage category, like a scrapper, you can be just about anything you want. Battle axe, broadsword. So if you want to be a knight in shining armor, you can absolutely do it. You could create a paladin-like character or warrior-like character in this. Claws, so if you're looking to be a Wolverine, dual blades. And when you go into your costume selector, you can select all sorts of things. So you could have an Asian look, or you could have a medieval look, or you could have a post-apocalyptic look. It's kind of up to you and that costume creator how those dual blades play out in the game. Dark melee, electrical melee, fiery melee, katana, kinetic melee. A lot of these you'll want to just play around with and see. I'm going to go ahead and create a character now for you so that you can kind of see the range of things that you can do. So I'm going to be melee damage. I'm going to be a scrapper. So I want to do high damage, melee damage. Kind of scrapper I'm going to be. So I think I'm going to go dark melee. I'm going to start with Shadow Punch. I could start with Smite. I'm going to start with Shadow Punch. And I've got to select my secondary powers. I could go any direction I want. Regeneration, that's really strong. Shield defense is strong. Super reflexes. But I'm going to keep consistent and go with dark armor. So now you come to the part where you select your character model. So you can be male, female, or big guy. And I'm going to be the big guy model, but I'm not going to be that big, because in this game you can mess with the shape of your model. So I want him to be super small, super big, super wide. Give him a smallish waist, wide hips, short legs. He's only 4 feet 1 inches tall. So I can do a lot right there in the character creator just with the model themselves. I come to this screen now, and it always sets you up with like some random preset, and wow, the variety that you have in this kind of a thing. So they've got custom, here's costume sets. So, you know, an armored set, average, bear. There you go. There's a good looking hero for you. So they've got these kind of set up and set. So if there's something that you're looking for, like I'm looking for something evil, you could look through those presets and then you could tweak it out from there. Personally, what I always do is I always start with plain, because I'm like, alright, basic superhero look there for me to start with. So I've already thought about my character and what I want him to do and what I want him to look like, so this is going to go pretty quick for me. But you may find yourself lost in hours. So the first thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to change the colors, so you can have your color palette over here. And you see that I have my costume colors linked. That's how it is by default. And so when I change it, it changes everything in that color set if I want to. And there's two basic colors here. So using that costume link thing, you can kind of create those a two color palette here pretty quickly. I'm going to start with black though. Then my head. Now then, I open up the head slot, so I'm only going to be working with the head. And ooh, I could go full mask, I could go hats, I could go think tank. Ooh, that looks fun. But I'm not going to go think tank. I know what I'm going to do. Animal. No, I'm not going to do that either. I'm going to go full mask. It's supposed to be full mask. And then face. Choose a face. The default is fine for what I'm doing. Let's see. The mask is fine for what I'm doing. Here, detail 1. So here now I have all sorts of choices that I can do. I don't want any of those though. What's detail 2? I'm looking for eyes. I want retro goggles. There they are. But now, I don't want them all to be black. I want those lenses to be a different color. So I'm going to change it right here. That's the color I want. I don't want to be able to see his face at all though, so I'm going to go down. And I already know I've gone through all of these options before. So this is the, I knew that that's the one I want. Okay, this is looking good. The upper body, so now I go to the upper body, and I have all sorts of choices here from, you know, jackets, sleeveless robes, robotic arms, if I wanted robot arms, but the default is fine for my purposes. Left glove, I can have a different left glove from a different right glove costume set. I'm going to go ahead and a lot, like you can just see all of the options that you have to choose through. What I'm looking through is full. Full. Oh, no, because there's options and there's sub-options. I need smooth and bare, and then from shiny leather, now I'm going down to full. And repeat the process on the other ones. Repair. Full. Boots don't look right. Let's fix that. Lower body. Pants are fine, but I could do sleek tights, I could do different armor, I could be barbarian looking thing, but that's fine for my purposes. I don't want shiny leather again, I want full. If I can find it. It might just be tight, it might be listed as tights under this one if I can't remember. Tights. Alright. Now we're getting close. But every superhero needs an emblem. So I go to my chest. But I don't want just any emblem. I know what I want to do is I want to get myself emblem circle. But oh look, because my colors are linked, that came up automatically that blue color. I don't want it that blue color now, so I'm going to unlink it and change that. And so now I've got that. And I can go further into chest detail, and I want a number. What number do I want? I want 8. I don't want that blue outline, so I'm going to change that so that it's a solid 8. Looking good. Now comes the fun thing. Auras. And for my guy, I know exactly what aura I want, but you can go through and see all sorts of different auras. Let's change the effect color so you can see. Like you could do an atomic aura. You could have bats flying around you. You could have a battle fury. You could have bioplasm. Celestial. clunker, cyborg, cryogenic, and you can change the color of it. You can change where it goes on it. Now then, the one I'm looking for today, now all these ones that have a lock beside them, they can be unlocked in-game. It'll make you think that you can purchase them, but there is no store anymore, so you'll have to do it the old-fashioned way and unlock them. Like I said, this server is pure. Some of the other servers that you can find out there, they've not only unlocked some of these items, but they've added their own. Continuing on down, I was looking for volcanic. Like, where's he going with this volcanic? I don't want him to be erupting all over the place, and I certainly don't want it to be white. In fact, the fact that it's volcanic is immaterial to me. I want just the eyes. There we go. And let's change out of that green. Beautiful. And now, I can preview what these powers do. So I looked at the description, I liked what it said, but I'm not sure if I like it or not. Well, City of Heroes allows you to be able to test out what your animations and power sets look like in-game, and then change the colors of them to your liking. So I'm on the original right now, so that's what Shadow Punch is going to look like. That's what Smite will look like. There's my Maul. That's what I like. I've got Touch of Fear, Siphon Live. I can look through each one of the animations for my superhero. See what it looks like before I go in game. And that way, if it's just not something to my liking, I can go back and change the power set. But maybe I like the idea of the power, but I just don't like those colors, so I can change it. So I'm going to change this one to black, and I want it to have that to match kind of his suit. And I'm going to want it to be consistent throughout. I could have it so each different ability had a different color if I wanted to. I could go completely rainbow on it. I'm going to match across the power sets. Color tintable what I want. Don't. Maybe I'll like it better if I have the blue and black reversed. I do. Yep, that's what I want. I'm pretty happy with the way my character is turning out. He's going all the way, he's going along the lines that I wanted. I just want to make sure. Ooh, not natural. He's magic. Why? Because the last thing you do after you're happy with everything you do is go right here and you can register. And I know that I want mine to be named Magic 8. That's right. Now then, the nice thing about some of these emu servers is the lower their population, the much higher chance you have of getting the name you want. So, it's not a bad idea to get in and get a couple of tunes made just so that you can reserve that extra special name that you've always wanted to name the superhero that you dreamed of when you were a child. So after I put in my name, I could go on, but I just wanted to show you a couple of other neat little features. You've got a battle cry here, so you can press F10 to say this in game, and so every time I attack something, I could set this up as an emote, and for my sources, say no. And then on my description, I could write in my entire bio. I've got up to 1023. Ask again later. And now, next. I suggest if you've never played, of course, play the tutorial. You go through the tutorial, you'll get a level real quick, and it'll pop you out into the same spot that I'm going to go. But I've played it a million times and don't want to play it again, so I'm going to click no. And at this point, I can select whether I want to be a hero. This will start me off in Atlas Park, and I'll get good story missions. Or I could choose a villain, and I'd go to the evil side and go through robbing banks and stealing things. I highly recommend you start as a hero if you've never played before. The villain side can be a little lonely. All of it's going to be a little lonely, so also gather up your friends. And if you're playing with the other people that you know, you can choose whichever side you want. And in fact, if you progress into the game far enough, you'd be able to switch from one to the other if you chose to. I'm going to start with hero. Now, oops, that actually reminds me. Let me see if this server has it real quick. Hero. But I'm going to say no right here because I want to go back. Aha, see how I'm on City of Heroes right here? You could also select City of Rogue, Going Rogue right here. If you've played the City of Heroes line before a million times, then that would be pretty much the only reason for a newbie to go into, well, you wouldn't be newbie anymore. City of Heroes Going Rogue was an expansion in which it gave you an alternative first 20 levels in which to level. And at the end of those 20 levels, you were able to choose whether you want to go into City of Heroes or City of Villains, becoming a hero or a villain. I don't recommend it. It's even lonelier than the villain side of things. And it's really most appropriate for people who have just done the content in City of Heroes so many times they're looking for something new. I know other people will tell you that there's a lot more to it than that, but for the basic newcomer to the game, I think that's a pretty good way of looking at it. So we're going to stick with the City of Heroes, and we're going to stick with becoming a hero because that's the most populated side, and I'm going to click next and hope that nobody's taken my name. Can't imagine they would have. And I'm not playing the tutorial, and I am going to be a hero, and let's go in. The tutorial will show you a lot of the basics of, like old MMOs did. It'll kind of tell you how to do your powers. It'll give you your first little instance and kind of give you an introduction to the way missions and things work. But after that, it'll pop you right here at level 2. As you can see, now I'm here in game. Welcome to Atlas Park. All heroes should talk to Matthew Habashi, so it sends you right to your first quest giver right away. There he is. You can see on your compass that he's marked with yellow. Standard WASD to move. We're in Atlas Park right now. It may take you a little while to get to figure out how to use the controls. Like I think it's the middle mouse button that it's the middle mouse button that you use to look around with your camera, which may be different from the games that you're on, but you can change key bindings and everything in this game. The UI, you can move around how you want. I believe you can resize things. So you can also see that it's got a hovering compass thing, so like it tells me that this target, my Matthew Habashi guy, is 62 yards away from me. Wow, I feel slow. Hey, look down here. I've got this little thing called sprint. I can actually run faster. And actually, as you progress in the game, you'll gain travel powers where you can fly, you can do super jump, you can teleport, you can have all different sorts of sprints and battle stances opened up. It's pretty neat. Standard type of modern MMO questing. You see somebody who's a contact, you click on them, you ask about available missions, You skip reading the story. We're going to go fight Hellions. They're a bad gang. You can click on that part, and now you can see that it's changed up here in my nav window, my compass window, and I've got a waypoint. And if I leave and look in game, I have that waypoint right here. Tells me that my target's 250, 200 yards away. Space jump. Ah, I see bad guys. They look like they're up to no good. We're gonna have to do something about that. I'm gonna move my powers right here. Click and drag your UI. And I just know, check out hover over them, see what they do before you engage in battle. But I know that this Dark Embrace is one of the powers I chose. Gives me a little bit of a shield, and here is my power. There is no auto attack in this game. So your powers is everything that you do. Use those 3D grayed out powers to help you in this first couple of things. You can see I'm suffering here. I'm suffering so bad I may need to back off way away. Oh, and they leashed. Now if I go back into their aggro zone, they reappear and re-aggro. Now that I've got it down to 1, I think that I can handle this pretty easily. Alright. Oh, I've got one more to kill. Where is he? Where are you? Sneaky. Sneaky hellions. Well, here's some more. I don't want to pull all of them, though. Oh well. Now you see, I got something called an inspiration that dropped. Inspiration. See that little green thing that just popped up above my power bar? I'm gonna get out of here. Probably have like 10 of them on me right now, so I'm gonna leash them off. Go back to my quest giver. Those green things called inspirations are like little power-ups, and so that's got the cross, heal, green. Right click it, gain a little bit of health. And then you can do what every other new player to the game does and forget they exist, let them load up, and never use them. But eventually you'll learn that they're great, and they can save your butt on 1,000 occasions. So that's the basics of it. You pick up a quest, you go kill things, you go back, you're following story arcs. Eventually they're going to send you to instances where you can go into these buildings, and they have, maps that have basically dungeons that you have to navigate and find and fulfill objectives with, and you gain levels and power up through this entire process. You have raids, you have some things basically called task force where you have where you need to gather large forces of well-powered, well-built superheroes to be able to defeat them, to unlock new powers like Paragon powers, which kind of works like alternative advancement that you know of in other games. People who play it are very loyal to the game. They love it. They still insist that it's the best of all the superhero games. I have a tendency to agree with them, and hope you get inspired to go out and play. Thanks for listening.